Second day in a row, the Celtics go in on a major trade, getting rid of another big-time piece from their 2024 championship team. Kristaps Porzingis is now gone to the Atlanta Hawks. 3-team deal that nets the Celtics a second-round pick and Lawrence, Massachusetts native and the winningest player in the NBA in the 2020s decade, Georges Niang. And a lot of Celtics fans are thinking, that's odd. In fact, the most surprising thing for me about this Kristaps Porzingis trade is not the fact that it was a Kristaps Porzingis trade. The most surprising thing about this trade to me is how people are reacting to it. People in the media, people in the know about this Celtics team, be it fans or analysts or people that follow the team every day, are out on social media shocked that the Celtics traded Kristaps Porzingis. Why? We knew this was coming. We knew this was that exactly there were going to be these two guys who were going to be traded to clear off the books. Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. You get that back-to-back days. And then I see Celtics fans pissed. Like, how do you only get Georges Niang in return? This is what Brad Stevens has done to us. Brad Stevens is so good at this that when you get a return like this, you're like, how did that happen? When really we should be asking, how did Anthony Simons happen? Let's put this into perspective again here. The entire league knows what you're doing. The entire NBA knows that you are up against the second apron and that you need desperately to get under it and that you need to shed major payroll and that you don't want to trade Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or Derek White. The whole league knows you're doing that. So that's just a testament to Brad Stevens that you even got someone like Anthony Simons, because in reality, the Jrue Holiday trade should have looked a lot more like the Kristaps Porzingis trade. Okay? And by the way, Georges Niang, I know he's a local guy. I know he's had his run-in with Jaylen Brown before. He's a guy who shoots 43% from the corner three. Maybe you just have him in to do that. But doesn't this feel like Georges Niang is just one of those guys who's on the team for like 3 weeks? Like, does it not feel like he's just a guy who is just flipped right away, never even plays a game for the Boston Celtics? Because that's certainly the vibe that I get. That's for sure. And maybe that is the case. But I'm just so surprised at all these people who are surprised at this Kristaps Porzingis trade. And that you didn't get a lot in return. Of course you didn't get a lot in return. The whole league knows you're doing this. And that you need to shed the payroll. And bam, you've got it. Over these two trades, you've saved $180 million over the life of those contracts. And now you're a whopping $4.5 million under the second apron. So congrats. You've done that. I think we all knew this was coming. The great news about it for Celtics fans, because I know we don't like seeing Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday not on this team anymore, but the great news for Celtics fans is you've got a GM that bats 1,000. Okay? This ain't the Red Sox making this trade. It's not the Bruins making this trade, to use the city as an example. It's not like some of these other NBA teams making a trade. You know, be it Houston or Miami or Orlando or whomever, where you're sweating it out thinking, did we get the right deal here? And you're trying to convince yourself for the 3 months, 4 months until the NBA season starts that you did actually make the right deal. For the Celtics, for Celtics fans, it's easy. You've got a GM who's really good at this. He hasn't failed on a trade yet, really. I mean, everyone thought he flunked the Derek White trade, and now look at it. It's one of the best trades of the last decade for what the value the Celtics got out of this guy. So that can help you sleep at night, Celtics fans. I know we don't like not having Kristaps Porzingis and Jrue Holiday on the team anymore, but Brad Stevens, pretty decent track record with this. He's doing okay. He got a good batting average. Puts the ball in play a lot. That's where the Celtics fans have been really blessed the last two regimes of general manager, and specifically this Brad Stevens one. Everything has come up roses. But the other thing that really surprised me, again, not the return for Kristaps Porzingis, but again, the fans' reaction to this. How can you get rid of Kristaps Porzingis? This deal sucks. You only got Georges Niang in return. And yet all I saw during the postseason on social media and fan forums and analysts, oh my God, this guy sucks. What's wrong with this guy? Get Porzingis off my team. Fire him into the sun. He's giving you absolutely nothing. Kristaps Porzingis has AIDS. That's all I saw in the postseason, was how bad Porzingis was and how he's the most overhyped Celtic of this generation. Because what I saw in these last 2 years was a humongous X factor on your team. Like humongous. An absolute matchup nightmare. And lest we forget, the game one of the NBA Finals in 2024, the way Kristaps played in that first half, that's legendary in most cities. Legendary. Comes in after missing almost 2 months. I think it was a month and a half at that point. Comes back in, he walks out on the floor for warmups. The crowd is going nuts. He goes into the game, and he's just instantly a nightmare. He's dunking on guys. He's hitting 35-foot threes. He's using his size advantage and just shooting over guys, blocking guys at the rim. It's one of the most electric, probably 11 minutes I've ever seen a player play. Was in that game one of the NBA Finals. That's what I'm going to remember. You might remember him for, you tweeting out that he has AIDS. I remember him for having a great NBA Finals in 2024 and gutting it through in the end of that because, of course, one of the frustrating parts of his tenure was that he was hurt a lot. And that's been kind of, unfortunately, the story of his career, is he's been hurt a lot. And he gets hurt again in that NBA Finals, and none of the diagnoses sounded good. Remember, it was like 3 pro athletes in the last 80 years have ever been diagnosed with this thing. There's everything's just kind of loose in his ankle, like bones and tendons and shit. It's just floating around in his ankle. And he finishes that series. He plays the last 2 games of that series and is effective enough and gets to win the NBA title. And some hard pictures come out afterwards, which we're not loading on my VO that I had earlier. And it just looked like one picture. But anyway, it's behind the scenes thing. So it saves you money, which is what you needed to do. I know teams and fans aren't thinking, boy, I'm glad to have that saved money on the court next year. And you don't really have a front court right now. But that's what they needed to do. And so far, they've done it. And Porzingis, by the way, classy as ever, man. Put out a great tweet, put out a page in the Globe, thanking Boston. In fact, the tweet goes something like this. Boston will always be special in my heart. Huge thank you to the organization, coaches, staff, my teammates, and the fans. Class, organization, forever grateful. And one last thing on both these guys, on Porzingis and Jrue Holiday. By the way, subscribe, find us every day talking about Celtics and everything going on in Boston sports. We're on the path towards 4,000 subscribers. Need your help there. The last thing I thought about was it's probably because these two were part of a championship team and they were huge parts, X factors in a championship team, missing pieces in a championship team. But those two guys really embraced Boston and kind of all the Celtic mystique and Celtic lore that came with it. Both those guys would played in other organizations, right? Jrue Holiday won a championship somewhere else. Kristaps Porzingis played for the Knicks. That's a storied organization in some ways. They really, really took to the Boston thing and the Celtic thing and the Celtic tradition and the lore. And they both remarked afterwards. Again, here's a guy who played for the Knicks and a guy who won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks, which is a pretty decent sports town, Milwaukee. They both said it's different in Boston. It's different winning it here. This is really something special. And for fans, those are the two things that you ask for. Championships and understanding us, understanding the mystique, understanding the city, understanding what it means to this region. And both those guys did that. But these are the moves you're going to have to make. Might not be the end of these moves for the Boston Celtics. Could Jaylen Brown be next? First, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can find us here live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time every weekday, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. So check out the other videos on the channel, talking Celtics, everything else Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week.